to the Executive Woman Podcast, Women Changing the Game. I'm your host, Dr. Sheila Robinson, and our mission is to empower women in business, leadership, and life. Each week, we bring you conversations with trailblazing executives and influential leaders who are breaking barriers and reshaping the business landscape. Through these discussions, we aim to provide you with the tools, strategies, and motivation to advance your career and make a lasting impact in both your life and career. Whether you are aspiring leader, a seasoned executive, or somewhere in between, this podcast is dedicated to supporting your professional journey and fostering a community of empowered women who lift each other up. Which brings us to our guest today, Rosa Alejandra, who definitely lifts us up. We're so thrilled to have you. Rosa is the CEO of Rosa Alejandra Consulting. She is an emotional empowerment specialist, an author, and a podcast host, and she helps women manage the emotional charge that we live, love, and lead with in order to overcome stress. So welcome, just want to welcome to our listeners. Rosa, give you a chance to say something about the work that you do.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Well, yes, you said it right. My name is Rosa Alejandra. I absolutely am a woman's woman. I love empowering women because I know all the struggles that we've been through for centuries. This is not just today. This is not just in this era, right? And then, of course, if you were brought up with a specific type of culture or upbringing, then your emotional charge is even that heavier, I should say, because of the beliefs that you've been living with. So my first goal and my mission, my vision is to eradicate competition amongst women. And I know that the only way that's going to happen is, number one, by doing things like you and I are doing right now, right? Coming together to empower more women. And number two, by helping each woman gain the tools to empower herself.
I love that. So she's going to help us today. We're going to have some discussions around overcoming adversity and how to thrive in stress environments without sacrificing our well-being, because it's so important. Now, I know today, Rosa, that you're killing it with your podcast. You have an awesome book dedicated to women who struggle with self-doubt. You provide women with so many tools to support us in our leadership roles. You're definitely on this mission to conquer the professional world and help us without sacrificing our well-being. But it didn't start out like that. Would you share with our listeners part of your journey and how this got started from owning your successful dance and fitness studio?
Absolutely. So I'm going to try to make it short because I'm very passionate. But basically, I was able to do what I love to do. I love to dance. I love self-expression. I am extremely expressive. And it was such a great business in the sense of it really exploded. And I never thought it would because I've always struggled with my weight, not knowing I had thyroid issues, right? So I opened the doors, I kicked down doors, 250 pounds, being in all kinds of gyms and just being known for that. Women would come because they would feel empowered. I never understood why I had so many clients and they would always say, it's not about how you dance. It's not about how you look. It's about the energy we feel from you every time we're around you. And it never dawned on me until the inevitable happened. So like I said at the beginning, I was one of those women raised with a certain type of beliefs that I didn't know were limiting. I was raised with, you don't need anything from anybody. Nobody loves you. Nobody will ever do anything for you. So it's up to you to do it all on your own. And I think while I'm telling my story, I'm going to connect some dots and hopefully, the listeners are picking up what I'm putting down. But sometimes in order to survive with those belief systems, we have to attach them to our ego. And that's exactly what I did. I'm a kick-ass instructor, so now I'm unstoppable. And I became so overworked because everybody wanted me, a piece of me. And it was such a sense of pride and ego that I continued to overwork, not understanding what I was doing to myself. I ended up with extremely high cortisol levels. And now for the past 13 years, I've been suffering with an autoimmune disease. And I had to close my studio because I ended up bedridden for 7 months. And now I literally had to learn how to be a whole new person, how to fall in love with a whole new self, because now I am over 100 pounds overweight. I am constantly swollen. I am constantly in pain. My throat, like you can hear, my voice comes and goes whenever it wants to because of the pressure on my throat because of my thyroid. And it's like, if I can help women understand what they're doing to themselves by having such an attachment of pride and ego to their high achieving, levels, then maybe I can help women avoid what happened to me, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Understanding that compassion, self-love, pacing yourself, having practices to recharge. Like recharging yourself is more important than how much but you're kicking out there, because without, one thing that I learned in this past 13 years is, without me there is no business, there is no career, there is no family, there is no nothing. And that's why I'm here. So that's how this all started. The book, that it was all about self-doubt, came about because I went through so much depression. I mean, you take a woman that was an Energizer bunny, a Tasmanian devil, moving all over the place dancing, and then you put her in a body that still has the energy but but doesn't have the capacity to move, or the capacity to even make money to survive. And that's a recipe for huge depression. So I had to, and then the more time that went by, the more I changed in front of the mirror, the less I knew who I was looking at. So I kind of disassociated from myself and started hating myself. So I had to go through such a journey of understanding what self-love was, what it looked like, what real self-love, because there's a lot of people out there faking it till they make it, and there's a lot of coaches out there teaching you to fake it till you make it, but that will not give you a long-lasting result. So I'm here to pretty much knock all that, excuse my language, knock all that crap off the shelves and actually help you get back to yourself and save your life for yourself and for your loved ones, and even for your career. Okay, I'll be
Wow.
quiet now.
No, Rosa, I love hearing it. It's just so powerful what you're saying to us. How that you have taken your personal struggle and shaped that into a mission to help other women. And, I loved how you're saying that some people are still out there faking it today and don't even realizing. Can you share with us how you began to rebuild yourself after facing this personal and professional trauma?
Absolutely. So number one, I ran away from everything, right? Because I was running into my clients whenever I was already up and walking again, and all they wanted was for me to dance again. So I became very bitter against my own clients because they didn't see my humanity. Because when you're in business, you're all about service, and it's all about what you can give them, right? And so I grew very angry. So I had to run away, move from California to Chicago. And here in Illinois, or in Chicago, there was a huge movement back in, what was it, 2015, of women empowerment. And I had never been introduced to that because I was too busy empowering women without knowing that there was other containers that could empower me, right? So I started going to meetings. I started, creeping into meetings. And I say creeping into meetings because there was a lot of voice about, Black women empowerment, and there's hardly any Latina women empowerment here in the Midwest, but there is a lot of Black women, and I'm like, I'm going anyway. I got a big booty. I'm sure they'll see me as their sister because I got a big butt. So that's how I would always present myself. I said, well, I'm not Black, but I have a big butt. Can I come in? And they would start laughing, right? So I started meeting so many women like that, and then I started sharing, the story that I just shared with you. And one of the women invited me to be in her book. She's like, I love your story. I think you should be telling it. I'm going to give you space in my book. You can write one chapter. Would you like that? And I'm like, sure. I didn't think anything of it, right? I didn't think, oh, I'm going to become an author, because I was in such a depressed state, but I still had the energy. I'm like, sure, let's do it. So I did it. And then that's when the realization came, because she told us, oh, you guys are published authors. And I'm like, oh, yay. But when I received the book and I read it, I was so ashamed because I did not know how much of a victim I had become of my own circumstances. And that is the thing. We don't know what we don't know until we do. In that book, opened my eyes to the true me, to how much I was suffering, how much I was defeated, what I truly believed of myself. And that is why one of the biggest practices that I do is grab a journal. You have to write. It doesn't even matter what you write about, because when you read it back, your writing literally pulls energy out of you, and it pulls the honest truth. And it is the most healing thing, even though it feels like a slap on the face. So that was that first part. That is exactly how it started the healing journey, because that allowed me to almost see myself as if I was being talked back by the image in the mirror, right? And then I had a second opportunity to do another chapter, and this was a paid chapter in a book from a woman in Hawaii. And I did it, and I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna be my own knight in shining armor, right? So I'm gonna save myself. So I went ahead and submitted the chapter, and when it came back, I read it, and you could tell I was trying. I was faking it. It wasn't real. I just by reading it, I could feel the gunkiness. I'm like, girl, you're trying too hard. This is crap, right? So then I sat with myself, I would say for a good year or so, with those realizations, with everything I had learned about myself through my own writing. And it's like, you know what? I am understanding that the reason why I am in such a hole is because I was something everybody wanted. Now, according to me, I'm something that is useless because of the way I feel and nobody wants. And I'm trying so hard to become something everyone wants again, which is completely disconnecting me still from my own self. So I haven't learned my lesson. I'm supposed to stand in my own power. Who the hell am I?
Yes.
Right? I had the perfect opportunity. At this time, my son was already 18 and gone. I literally could just live or not live, and I wouldn't affect anybody in the sense of I didn't have big responsibilities. So I'm like, this is the perfect time to dive into who the heck is Rosa Alejandra. And I did that in because my book is an acronym. It's an acronym for bitch, right? Because
Yeah.
I started remembering the reason why I wasn't allowed to be myself is because I was always being called names, because I had the energy, because I had the voice, because I had the passion. And I didn't realize how scary that was for so many people. So I started dimming my light because of that word. Oh, you're such a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I was done dealing with crap, I was called a bitch because of how So then I decided, you know what? That's going to be my healing word. I'm taking that word, I'm making it mine because it is
That's
true. I
awesome.
am a bitch. I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am talented. I am confident. And I can be happy if I choose to. And that spells BITCH. So I
That's
took that as
awesome.
a full power word. And that is how I started becoming into myself, understanding who I was and giving myself permission more than anything to be me unapologetically. And that actually made me start getting into business again, made me start talking to people again, made me start wanting to help women again, not being bitter against women because they only saw me as a service and not as a person. So that's how I started my journey.
That is awesome. I love that acronym. So when we're talking about what's the concept of emotional empowerment? How does it work, and why is it essential for women in leadership roles?
Well, I think there is power in the word emotion because we are all
Mm-hmm.
emotion. We're energy in motion. That's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotion can cause so many things. But if you notice in society, women are so emotional. So that's another condescending term for women, and we don't even realize it. So when we try not to be emotional, we step into our masculine, and that is not aligned with who we're supposed to be. So now cortisol is up, stress is up, everything else is up. So that is why falling in love with the word yes, I am an emotional being, yes, I am an emotional woman, simply because I am energy and motion, and it's the badass energy, as let me tell you. It creates a different relationship, and then now it creates more congruency in our life, because otherwise when we detach from it, we start creating reasons why we shouldn't be who we're supposed to be, we shouldn't be happy, or why we cannot have what we want, right? And then we get stuck in that vibration. So there's a cycle to where your emotion will create your thought, and then your thought will go back into an emotion, and then that will create a behavior, and then the behavior will create a result that will reinforce what you already believed in yourself to begin with, about yourself to
Exactly.
begin with. So, right. So it's just such a disgusting cycle if we don't learn to shift it. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, that's how burnout comes about, right? If we don't, because that's what I hear now in my line of work. I talk to so many professional women, and it's burnout, burnout, burnout. I just have nothing left. And what you just
Yes.
described clearly would get us. That's what gets us there.
Yes, and like I said, I think also the fact that we attach hard work with pride, and we don't
Yes.
know that that hard work is not a success measurement. You can actually be very successful with doing less. You just have to be very strategic about it and live your life and be happy, not so stressed.
What's an example of some of the like unique tools or strategies that you recommend to women to utilize to manage some of that emotional stress?
Well, I think the very first one is to learn to breathe, of course. You have to
Mm,
learn to breathe because number one, it calms you down. Number two, it brings you back to present. I know that a lot of the stress is caused by two things. One, either you're looking behind you at who you were, there is a disconnect there, or two, you're looking in front of you at who you want to be, and you are in scarcity, you are in want, you are in lack. So that will create stress because you're neither or and you're not present here. So if once you start breathing, you come back to your center, you're able to regulate your nervous system, and you will even start realizing, oh shoot, there is birds outside my house. Oh shoot, that tree is actually really green today. Like you didn't even know. You pass by the same tree every single day and you didn't realize if it was orange, green, or bald, because you're so caught up in your own world that's not even about today, it's about tomorrow or what you don't have. So definitely breathing. There is also tapping. I don't do tapping a lot. What I do a lot is journaling and mirror work.
okay.
I go to the mirror every single morning and I pretty much tell myself what I'm going to focus on today, and I find out what it is that's going to bring me back to present. So I'll either wear my bracelet, or I'll wear a little rubber band, depending on how I'm feeling that day, if I'm really going to need to focus. Because with my autoimmune disease, my focus will leave so quick, but it's not so much because I'm not being focused, it's because I get brain fog. So I need big reminders of, wait, you were supposed to be doing this. No, don't go that way. So it's a different animal that I'm dealing with. But those are some like very, very simple techniques that will help bring you back to present. Just practicing how to stay present.
I love that because the way that you have never thought of it like that we're either, when we're in that all over the place, we are either, you said, looking behind us, looking at the past, what
Mhm.
happened in the back, or we're already looking ahead of us. So we're speeding either
Mhm.
way, and we are not in
Yes.
the present. So, what are some ideas? I love how you said, I mean, the mirror and, what you're going to focus on, and put the rubber band, pop yourself with the rubber band, and, journaling and all of that. So, what you're saying is the way that we control some of that stress and get some of that balance is we find a way to be focused, to stay in the moment.
Correct. Everything is different for everybody. Like for me, meditation is difficult because I have so much energy. So if I start meditating, I actually start going into the future, right? And I'm like, because of everything I want and everything that I'm not
Yes.
able to do because of my physical condition, right? So meditating for me doesn't work. But if I put on music and I start moving my body and dancing, that brings me right back. Not only does it bring me right back to the present, but it gives me the energy to keep moving. And that's something that I notice even with my autoimmune disease. I am very lethargic, but if I put music and I start moving, then suddenly my entire day, I didn't even realize that I was moving all over the house, all over the office, all over. Because energy in motion, once you turn it on, it stays in motion. And it's the same thing with your thoughts. Once you give energy to your thoughts, they will stay in motion, whether they're positive or they're negative. So that's why staying present and understanding what's going through your emotions and through your thoughts, it's so important.
Well, speaking of the future, do you have a upcoming book that's focused on empowering women coming up?
I am actually working on something, but I haven't really put all my focus to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually called the art of selfless selfishness, just so women can learn to be selfish, because that is the most selfless thing you can do, because you'll be able to serve a lot better. So that's coming, but right now what I've been working on is just creating that 5-step protocol to help you reduce stress and just be able to use those tools on demand, because the stress is going to keep coming no matter what. I mean, I'm already 48, about to be 49, so I cannot undo 49 years of habits
Right.
in subconscious writing, in 5 days. But if I learn the tools and I implement them and see how they work for me, then now I have a tool in my belt that whenever the old Rosa comes up again, it's like, no, wait a minute, I have this tool here, take, use this part of the protocol, and we're back on track. So that is actually what I have right now.
So how can our listeners find out about the 5 point? You said it is the 5 point rules.
Yeah, it's actually a 5-day stress detox protocol. So that's what it is.
A
So we're
5 day
gonna
stress.
detox you a little
Yes.
bit.
And
And
where can we find that?
thank you. So it's gonna be fiercemanifesting.com. So
Fears
fiercemanifesting.com, and it's gonna be
fearsmanifesting.com. Yes.
/ stress detox challenge.
Okay. /
Yep.
stress detox challenge. And we will make sure that that is in our resources at the end of this podcast, because that's amazing. That's something we really need. So we know you have something that you're working on with the post. We know we have the 5 day stress detox. We can go to the website and get. Let's hear a little bit about your podcast and what your podcast
Yes.
is about.
And I am so sorry, I'm wrong. It's a stress detox protocol. So it's fiercemanifesting.com / stress detox protocol. The podcast itself is called Fierce Woman. It's Fierce Woman Radio. And it's exactly, we are souls on the same journey. It's all about empowering women. And what I like to do is I like to bring women who are willing to be vulnerable and share the stories of, what they went through, how they came out of it, and what are the suggestions they have for the listeners. So it's real talk, authentic talk, just to help women, number one, understand that they're not alone. They're not the only ones going through it. And number two, that there is a way out if they want to. And that's something that I always emphasize. Everybody can lead you. Everybody can give you a protocol. Everybody can give you a course and help. But if you are not willing to step up for yourself, then you will continue to complain about the same thing the next year and the next year and the next year, and you will continue to feel alone. But if you get into the right rooms and you actually implement everything you're learning, soon you'll be over here with Dr. Sheila talking about your transformation as well.
Yes. And so, yeah, chronic stress is a common issue. In all honesty, I think that one of the most important ways that I was able to handle some of the pressures and emotional challenges that I've had is when I went back to school and I started studying, about emotional intelligence, EQ, and how that we can manage that. I like to say, if I were to drop a dozen of eggs in the floor and they scatter everywhere, if I were to get my luggage lost at the airport or flight canceled, I don't respond in the same way, because I learned that through emotional intelligence and exercising that that's not being a part of the solution. It just makes the problem bigger, and it just, upsets me. And so I started practicing and meditating, how I'm going to react to certain things like that. And I actually have a workshop on it. And the funny thing is, I don't care years and years of reading and practicing this, especially in your personal and professional life. The one time that you really, really know if you are mastering your emotions is with your children, because that's how I know. There are times I have an adult daughter, and I was like, okay, I don't have the EQ numbers that I thought I had. I'm not in the top 10. But this has been wonderful speaking with you. I want to know the name of your podcast so we will know how to send our listeners to you. We're going to find out about your upcoming book and any coaching services and resources that you want our listeners to know about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The podcast name is Fierce Woman Radio. That is the podcast name, Fierce Woman Radio. And yeah, definitely. I'll keep you posted. I have another link. It's called rosaslink.com. And that's usually where you'll find any links that I come up with as far as, if the book does launch, it'll be right there. The Fierce Woman Radio is right there. The protocol is going to be right there as of tonight. So the Rosa's link is where you'll find every single link that comes up. That I'm offering.
Well, remember to our listeners, you'll find all of these resources that were mentioned in our links at the end of the podcast. That brings us to the end of this episode with Rosa. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us. Your journey and your dedication to empower women is so truly inspiring, and we just thank God for you. To our listeners, I hope you found this conversation as enlightening as I did. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your support helps us continue bringing you these valuable discussions. And as we close out today, Rosa, I want to give you a chance to close out with a message, anything of inspirational that you want to share with our listeners. I love having our special guests give the parting words as we go on our merry ways.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Definitely. I think my message would be learn to count yourself in. So basically, learn to give yourself permission. Don't do things because they're expected of you or because you think that's what you should be doing. Do things because they are well with you so that you can be well with them and not end up either resenting or burning out or stressing over anything that you do. You have the right to give yourself permission to just be you and do you according to you. And everything you will ever hear me say is always going to be gonna bring you back to you. Thank you.
That's outstanding. Okay, listeners, you heard it. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. Until then, keep striving for, being this emotional person within you that Rosa has been sharing with us, and keep striving to support others and, lifting each other up. I love how Rosa started out saying that that's what women have the power to do. We have the power to lift each other up and empower each other and keep thriving. Thank you.